What is next for Bray Wyatt? Let's talk about that in today's Wrestling Ramble. We have not seen Bray Wyatt on WWE programming since February, so we're nearing 4 months of no Bray Wyatt. Now, this has been an interesting journey for Bray. Starts out on NXT with the Wyatt family, goes up to the main roster, has a great faction, a great look, he's got an interesting style of promo, and he's feuding with top names in the company. Eventually, he even becomes the WWE champion, has that feud with Randy Orton, had that odd match at WrestleMania with like the worms that were projected on the ring, and then later becomes the Fiend, has the Firefly Funhouse, somehow reinvents his character, but has that Hell in a Cell match that ends in DQ with Seth Rollins that fans went crazy after. It seems like there's always a common theme here with Bray, that he has something. There is something there with Bray Wyatt, but there is always some element of a match or a storyline that tends to taint the perspective on it. It tends to ruin what you remember about it. You tend to view the negative aspects or the one negative aspect of Bray Wyatt's run. To the surprise of many, he would end up being released from WWE July 31st of 2021. He ended up finding his way back to the company the following year in September when WWE started playing that acapella version of White Rabbit, the QR codes, and it goes back to the point I was making that these storylines, these ideas, the concepts that Bray comes up with and how it's presented tends to go very well in the beginning. It shows a lot of promise, whether it be the Wyatt family, his run with the WWE title, the Fiend, and then returning. That was some of the best publicity that WWE has gotten with a return. In the modern era, it might be the best that they've done to build a comeback, because every time there'd be a Raw or a SmackDown, there would be people filming and posting videos of that White Rabbit acapella version playing. There'd be a bunch of posts about the QR codes, what it leads to, trying to decipher the meaning, and that stuff would end up trending on Twitter. Now, Raw and SmackDown tend to trend on Twitter anyway, but these things would trend separately, and it got people curious as to what is going on. And it might have even lured some people that are just on social media, maybe just see pro wrestling, maybe just see WWE at a glance, what's going on for Raw and SmackDown. They're going, what's with this QR code business? What's with this weird video it leads to? What's with the cryptic messaging? And then finally, we get Bray back, and we're all curious as to how this is going to turn out. And given what I had known and what I had seen, because like I said, The Fiend was a great idea and it had a cool concept, but a lot of people are hung up on that Hell in a Cell match. There's always something that sticks out in your mind that you view negatively that really overshadows any potential or any of the positives that came from it. And most recently, his completed feud with LA Knight, I think, left a lot to be desired. They had the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match, which I guess all things considered wasn't nearly as bad as the Hell in a Cell bout with Rollins. It didn't lead to any kind of riot, but it just, in my opinion, I wasn't too into it. It wasn't that great. I didn't really care for it. And he's doing the business with Uncle Howdy, who we believe to be Bo Dallas, and we're not sure where that's going to go. Then, after he gets the win over LA Knight, which I felt so bad for LA Knight because it's so hard to get a good feud out of Wyatt. Something always seems to go wrong here, and it's just so difficult to be presented with Wyatt, who is this strange, mythical sort of creature, especially with the Fiend, where, oh, I don't take any damage. So this was very interesting because he finishes up with LA Knight. LA Knight can move on to something better and try to rebuild himself. And then he calls out the winner of Lashley Lesnar, and there were reports that he was going to work with Brock, because Brock was supposed to beat Lashley at Elimination Chamber this year. But if you remember what happened, Lesnar got himself DQ'd. He changed the plans right before they went out there. It was a last-minute decision that was his call. Why? Seems pretty obvious. He didn't want to work with Bray, and it's for the reasons mentioned previously. Brock Lesnar is someone you look at as a legitimate athlete, a legitimate fighter, former UFC heavyweight champion, NCAA Division I champion, incredible college amateur wrestling record. And just look at him. Just look at the the guy. Everyone knows he would whoop anyone he gets in the ring with, and it's tough enough for someone like a Cody Rhodes to go up against him. Their feud's been great. Cody being an underneath babyface, especially with the arm injury and whatnot, but we won't get on too much of a tangent of that. The point is that Bray Wyatt doesn't really fit that mold of a fighting from underneath babyface against Brock, and I think Brock realized the limitations that would be inherently set on a feud with Bray, so he declined it, and it was going to be Lashley versus Wyatt, which I was not excited for. LA Knight, at the very least, is a good promo and can try his best at selling this to the audience. Lashley is not a good promo. He's a great athlete, he looks good, but he needs a mouthpiece. He needs an MVP. He needs somebody to talk for him. He doesn't work as a heel, he doesn't work as a babyface. He just doesn't seem comfortable out there. He just doesn't have the promo ability. That's it. So I wasn't excited for this feud. And then we hear Wyatt's out. He's gone. Then we start hearing that there's a reported physical issue. And to this day, we still have not gotten that information. It has not been disclosed what is bothering him. If it's an injury, which seems like it would be, but we don't know what it is. So he's just been out of action since about February, almost 4 months now. And there has been talk that he's going to return. There was a report May 30th from BWE, who is a WWE insider. He was asked, hey, now that Alexa is pregnant, which is awesome, does this change plans for Bray's return, or have you heard different, because I know you said there might be a tease? He responded, Bray's work is on paper, Alexa, all changes for her. And this goes back to a previous report from the Wrestling Observer, where they said, depending on what happens with Alexa Bliss, if she comes back without Bray, that might say that they're done with Bray. Well, then we find out that Alexa's pregnant, so she's not going to be back for a while, and now we've got a report saying that Bray's return is on paper. He is going to come back. The question is, what do you do with him? Because let me know what you think, but I don't want to see him do the Lashley feud. That was something I was never interested in. I don't want to see that. No thank you. I will pass. Hard pass on that one. But I just don't know what you do with him. I am curious to know where the storyline was going with Uncle Howdy. Uncle Howdy once attacked Bray, and then they both teamed up against LA Knight, and now they're working in tandem. That hasn't really been explained, and there's something to be explained there, so I would like to be in the know on that matter. I would be interested to see how that particular portion of the storyline progresses. How we get to that point, I don't know, and that's where I think it doesn't really matter so much who his opponent is in that aspect of it, but it does matter who his opponent is to make this feud credible, to sell it to the audience. And realistically, I don't know who I want Bray Wyatt to feud with. I don't know if I want to really wish that on anybody. And this is not me trying to take a shot at Bray, because I think he has a ton of potential. There is something to do there. It just seems like once we get the ball rolling with Bray, something goes off the rails. Something doesn't work out, and it overshadows any potential or any positive. Now, it was suggested by Disco Inferno that he go back down to NXT and just improve his work, his wrestling. Disco said his gimmick should be brawling and mauling and just a whole different in-ring style. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's probably the one area that Bray Wyatt could use some work, is his in-ring acumen and just honing it and trying out some things. Now, maybe in terms of promos, he could be a little more specific and get to the point whenever he is talking, but in terms of promo ability, he has his own style, he has his own cadence, he's his own animal out there, and it's interesting. And like I said, I want to see where the Uncle Howdy stuff goes, but I just don't know who you put him up against. If you have an idea for an opponent that Bray Wyatt should face when he comes back, let me know. But it'll be interesting to see what WWE does with Wyatt. I know they were playing his music in Saudi Arabia, so there seems to be a plan for him to return, at least according to that WWE insider BWE. So we'll see how it all turns out. Let me know what you guys think about Bray Wyatt's return. How do you feel about his current run in WWE? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. That's all I've got. I'll see y'all later.